Y'all, so today we are going to be turning this Unicorno into Wonder Woman, just like the one on my YouTube banner. So after you choose a Unicorno, dump steaming water over it and let it sit for a few minutes till the vinyl softens and you can tuck the head off. Make sure to use a rag to protect your hands from the heat. And if you're bad like me, clean up the mess you make when you pour the water. After the head and any accessories are pulled off, you want to remove the factory paint with acetone. You guys can also see I took the bow out of the tail. I didn't record that, but I did take it out. You need to use 100% pure acetone for this to be easiest way to do it. You can use regular nail polish. It'll just take you a lot longer. And I always put gloves on when working with acetone. If you're wearing nail polish, which I'm not, obviously it will take it off. But it also really dries your skin out if you use it repeatedly. And another thing, if you get the paint on you, if it transfers from the figure to you, the only way to get the paint off your skin is to use acetone. So I just think it's easier to use gloves. After it is all clean, it is time for the base paint. Now, you can see where I didn't get all the paint off. Sometimes they put glue over the paint in some spots, so you can't really get it off. But small spots like that aren't going to hurt you. I used this sun-kissed peach color for her skin tone. And it takes about 3 coats to make it opaque on both the head and the body. I filled up the gap left by the bow in the tail with air dry clay, and I put a thin layer of super glue over air dry clay when I work with it to keep it from shrinking as it dries. Air dry clay does shrink and crack as it dries, but if you put a thin layer of super glue on top of it, it will prevent most of it. So it won't be looking too bad. It'll make it look a lot better, actually. And now we are going to use black to paint the mane and the tail. And yeah, I know my black paint looks like it's seen better days. It kind of exploded on me one day. Because the black is so, dark, usually it only takes 2 coats to get all the streaks to disappear and become opaque. So I just included this to show you guys the tool I use to correct some paint mess-ups. I don't even know what these things are called. My mom found them for me at Hobby Lobby one day. They have very small, fuzzy, almost sponge-like tips on the end. And you can use it to apply a lot. I don't want to say a lot, but you can just cover this with one time, opposed to using a brush like on 3 coats to correct a dark paint mess-up. So here is Suguru. Suguru is air dry rubber moldable glue. You can find it on Amazon. You can also see my little redneck stand there for my vinyl heads as I'm working with them. Red Solo Cup. Anyway, I got this from watching Amanda Panda's channel. She does My Little Pony customs and she works with this stuff. The biggest downside is you have to let it dry overnight for it to harden. As it does dry, however, it will adhere to whatever you put it on, so you don't have to glue it on afterwards, hence multiple glue. Now here I am using baking powder so that it doesn't stick to the surface that I'm using kind of as I'm just using it to really cut off a good place. I had to use the baking powder because I forgot it was summertime. When I started using this stuff, it was winter, so I stored the Suguru in a room in my house that didn't have a vent so that the heat from the heater wouldn't mess with it. But I forgot to move it during the summer, and this is the first time I've used it this season. When it gets hot, it will become sticky and harder to work with, so I used the baking powder, or baking soda, whatever, kind of like you would flour when you're baking, so that the stuff doesn't stick to the table. And it worked very, very well. The only downside was it didn't want to stick to the figure afterwards. I had to put a small dot of clean Suguru to connect the two, but yeah, you couldn't see it or anything, so it was cool. And I used this stuff to make the tiara, like you guys just saw. Right now I'm making the earrings, and then I am going to make the lasso of truth. The lasso actually took me a few tries to get it right. In fact, I didn't even show the final product on screen. I just showed you guys enough that you can get a good idea. Like I said, the temperature made the stuff really sticky to work with, and I didn't want to put baking powder on all of it. Looking back, I probably should have, just to make it a lot easier and a lot cleaner, but I didn't. But basically, you can just see coiling it up to the right length and putting it on the figure afterwards to have it dry and adhere onto the figure. I used these two mixed together to create a silvery color for her earrings and later on her bracelets. And this is where I noticed something interesting. Because it's rubber, sometimes, or all the time, Suguru doesn't want to take the paint. It takes layers and layers to get it opaque. But the baking soda on the earrings helped it take the paint a lot better. I only needed like 3 coats. And I promise you, if that stuff wasn't on there, I would have to do at least twice that, if not more, coats, because it always wants to separate. So this stuff actually worked wonders. That's why I said I probably should have just used the baking powder on all of it, because it made the painting so much easier. After I saw how well the baking soda helped the other parts, I decided to try to put super glue, a thin layer of it, on the other parts that I used Suguru that I made with Suguru, to see if it would take the paint better than the, just Suguru by itself. And I didn't mention this a while ago, but I always wear gloves when I'm working with super glue as well, just in case I get it on my skin. It's very annoying to get super glue off. However, if you don't have gloves and you're doing this, honestly, the best way to get super glue off is vegetable oil, like the kind you cook with. Just put a little bit on it and scrape it off with your nail, and you can get it off. And I forgot to record myself doing the beginning painting on the body, but you can see I used the flag red color for her boots and the outline of her outfit. And now on to the tiara. We're using this gold color for it. The gold is a very, very sheer color, unless you literally like dab it on with like super, super thick blobs. It's very, very see-through. So I end up having to do about 3 coats, or not really 3, I think it was more like 5, to make it opaque. I included this, I didn't show myself doing it, but Suguru is very easy to carve once it's dried. Super, super easy. So I used this bright blue color to make the bottom half of her outfit. I did some of it off screen, because of the detail going around the legs. And you can also see me using an angled brush. Those things are more expensive than your regular brushes, guys. But if you're working on small figures, it is well worth it. I got 2 to use because I just use them so many times throughout this. It's so much easier to get into those little cracks and crevices with it. And this part I painted with a toothpick. I painted the rings at the tops of the boots off camera because, again, it's really hard to paint around the feet and record at the same time. But basically for all the thin spots on here, I used a toothpick. I later use a toothpick for the stars on the outfit and her tiara. I do not show myself doing that. Nor do I show myself using a toothpick for the W on her chest. However, there will be a 360 view at the end of this, as well as pictures of all the angles. Here I am painting the outline of the belt, her golden belt. Again, because the gold paint is so sheer, it's good to paint a layer of white beneath it first, so that gold will stand out more and you don't end up having to put like 50 coats on it to make it opaque. You can see the gold showing up a lot better than it would if it was just on that blue, that dark blue part itself. So yeah, it's a lot easier to just paint. When you're working with any light color on top of a dark color, it's really good to paint a layer of white on it first. I didn't paint the lasso till now because I thought it'd be easier to paint the rest of her body without it. The other Wonder Woman figures I actually did all the sculpting and stuff the last of it. So I was actually able to paint the body a lot easier without that lasso on it. I just did it this way to see how hard it would be. If it would be, same difficulty, more easy, or what. Yeah, it was more difficult. So if you are doing this, if it's possible, try to leave the sculpting for last, if you can. Now for the most frustrating part of it all, the eyes. I can never get these things to look symmetrical. So what I did for you guys, I just showed you the basic shape, me painting the basic shape of the eyes. And you'll see when it comes back to it, it's actually a lot bigger than what I showed you because I messed up a little bit. But basically what you do, you want to put a round layer of black on top, and then cover that up partially with white, and then cover that up with the eye color. This time I used the white mixed with bright blue to create a light blue for eye color, and then dark for the black for the pupils. And here I am going through and using a wide brush to create her silver gauntlets using the same paint that I used on her earrings. And so here are the eyes as they're done. And you can see I already painted the star on the tiara there too. That is a stylus that I'm using now to create the highlights in the eyes. I call it a dotting tool. Apparently Hobby Lobby calls it a stylus, but either way, it's really good for making perfect circles. Out of everything here, this is the part that's most optional. I'm just putting a little bit of glitter glue on the table and then applying it to the figure on the earrings and the star on the tiara. I just added the glitter this time on the earrings just to see how it would look like. I did do the glitter on the star on the tiara on the last two Wonder Woman customs that I've done on this figure, or on these figures I should say. And I did that because Linda Carter's version of Wonder Woman from the 70s TV show, she actually had a ruby in the middle of the star on her tiara. So I thought the sparkles would kind of be reminiscent of that. And I think it turns out really, really well. You just need a small enough brush to apply it to that tiny, tiny star. And this type of glue does dry flat, guys, so don't worry about blobbing it on. You can see me switching to my angled brush again just because it's the smallest brush I have for the star. You might want to do a toothpick with this too, but it would take you a lot longer. And I did have to go in after it dried and I could see exactly where all the glitter went, and I put a little bit more on. Just portion control. One thing I love about this glue though, it's not overwhelmingly glitter. It's very sparse. You can tell it's there, but it's not going to total glitterize it. It actually looks very, very nice. And here you can see the completed head and body. Now, to reattach the head to the body, I use this stronger Gorilla Glue for that. Just put a small amount on the neck base and hold the head in place as the glue dries. And usually you don't have to hold it there very long. This stuff is pretty strong. Once you put it on there, you might realize that some of the neck shows. You do not want to paint the neck as you are painting the rest of the body. If you do that and you go to glue it on, it'll be gluing paint on paint, not the vinyl on vinyl. If you drop it, it will be a lot easier to break if you do that. So just wait till this step to see if you still need to go back in and, touch up anything. It's a lot safer for your figure. And also, I went back in with a toothpick and applied a bit more glue around the neck just to make it a bit more secure. And you can see me touching up her hair a little bit too where the paint messed up. This is where you want to go around and look at any paint mistakes that you've made and correct them. Now this is not medicine. This is Mod Podge matte varnish. When you guys first get this stuff, you want to experiment with it. You have to add water to actually make it matte. In other words, it will be glossy. I don't know why, but it just always glossy. Matte isn't matte unless you put water to it. So when I first get a bottle and have to remake a batch, I get a figure that, just experimenting with, and I just add water to a certain amount of the glue. I usually put about 2 spoonfuls in a bottle like that, and just add water and brush a little bit of it on a figure until it gets to the finish that I like. So yeah, this is the part where you really need to experiment on a figure that you really don't care about until you finally get the kind that you want. And I always mix up a batch at a time. That bottle will last me through several customs. So yeah, it's just a lot easier if you experiment when you first get it, so you're not ending up with super shiny figures when you were looking for a good matte finish. And usually I put about 3 coats on these things too. Once all that is done and all dried, then the figure is considered complete. So here's 360. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial, and if you guys end up doing your own figures, Unicorno or anything like that, please put it on Instagram and tag me. I would love to see your creations. And like I said, this is like my favorite hobby in the world, so it's just really fun. This and toy collecting is super fun. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and I will see y'all later. Bye.